Good afternoon. It is November the 5th, 2016, which means that is the day that I am publishing my winter weather forecast. So I'm going to go ahead and do this now, the weekly weather briefing, and then we will get into the winter forecast later on this evening. I will post a video of the winter weather forecast, but I have a lot to do between that time and now, so we're going to go ahead and do our weekly weather briefing where this past week it was fairly warmer than normal and in fact well above normal. We were breaking records a few times this week back towards Halloween, and on Tuesday, November the 1st and November the 2nd, we just couldn't get rid of that heat, and we saw the dates of 1950 getting replaced in Paducah's National Weather Service with 2016. So it was, let's see, that would be 66 years ago since we saw those kind of temperatures in our region, and that is just phenomenal to even think about. And we didn't see much rain either. We had another weak system push through on Wednesday evening, and it brought a few showers to areas of the region, but we really watched it just fall apart. It was really looking good around St. Louis and back towards Springfield, Illinois, Joplin, Missouri. But then all of a sudden it just fell apart, which is what we were forecasting. I was forecasting for it to fall apart as it moved into our region, as every other system has done. So that was forecasted correct when it did fall apart through our region, but I still could have wished that it would have stayed together and done so. It seems like every single system gets right to our region, a couple counties north or west of us, and then all of a sudden it falls apart. There's something about the Western Kentucky, Western Tennessee going on right now that I guess we just have a lot of dry air in place, and each system is, we're just going through that cycle right now. We're going through that dry phase. Every year we seem to have a dry phase, and right now we're going through that dry phase. We definitely didn't have it in the summer or spring because we had a very hot and wet summer. Some areas saw their number one wettest summer on record in our region, and a lot of times that's what happens. When you get a lot of rain, you just all of a sudden dry out, and that is what happened, and it's still happening right now. Although this dry phase is lasting a little bit longer than I anticipated, and other forecasters as well anticipated as also, and now it's starting to look like it's a drought. And as of the latest U.S. drought monitor, Matt, we are now in a moderate drought. So with us being in a moderate drought, that doesn't even tell the whole story. If you were to look at the drought Palmer index, it shows the more specifics of the story. So our story is that we're dry, and the drought monitor shows the overall picture. Yes, we're dry. We're in a moderate drought. That is what it is saying. But the Palmer index says that we are in a severe drought, which is what I agree with, and I expect that to worsen as we go throughout November and maybe even December as well. It's still a long time before I can post a forecast about what I think December is going to do. We're just now beginning November, but I do believe that this is going into a drought. This drought was over the southeast around Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and down there it's an exceptional drought, and that's on the U.S. Drought Monitor, which is the overall scheme of things. So when it's saying an exceptional drought down there, then we know that is a really bad situation, and that drought is starting to spread northward, and there's areas in the Midwest that are dry as well. Overall, the country as a whole is very dry right now. We've seen not very many weather systems that have been making headlines. The Northeast and New England have been getting some doses of rain and snow showers the last couple of weeks, so they're starting to break out of their dry phase. The New England areas were very dry this year, and they are starting to get system after system pushing through, and I expect that to happen to our region sometime as well, but I just don't know when right now. When I start to see it show up in the models, I will let you know. Right now, the long range is looking a little bit more active than we are right now, but the long range has been saying active for a very long time, and it hasn't been happening. So I don't have a lot of confidence in the models right now when it comes to our precipitation. Okay, that's enough on the rant. Let's go ahead and get into this week's weekly weather briefing. You get it. It's dry. It's been warm, and we are now going to begin to cool down, stair step our way down. Today is Saturday, and we had high pressure over the region. I went hunting this morning. Temperatures were in the upper 30s to low 40s. I did not see any light frost, but I kind of got in the deer stand pretty early in the morning before daylight, which is around daylight is right when the frost would have taken shape this morning because the temperatures wouldn't have supported that frost a couple of hours before sunrise. So it would have been right before sunrise, and I wasn't able to see that. I was already in the deer stand ready to go, and there was nothing that I could really see at in the dark to see if there was any frost. But I know that there were reports of frost around western Kentucky this morning, so we did have our second spotty frost. We haven't had a widespread frost just quite yet, but we are getting there. It is the beginning of November, and before long, you'll start seeing some pretty snowflakes falling out of the sky. We move into Monday morning. You begin to see precipitation moving into the Central Plains and Texas, where they will get plenty doses of rain this week, according to the GFS model. And it's Tuesday that I begin to see a boundary moving into the region. This is a cold front, so temperatures right ahead of it are going to warm up as always, around 70 degrees on Tuesday, and expect that for Monday as well. Upper 60s to low 70s, as you can tell. That's normal for this time of the year to warm up right ahead of the cold front. What wasn't normal about our warmth is that it was lasting for such a long period of time, and that's not normal for this time of the year, especially the amount of warmth it was and the extent of the warmth. It was very, very warm instead of just kind of a mutual warmth for several days in a row. Now, as we move into midweek, we begin to see those showers from that cold front moving up from the south. Our winds will be coming from the south out ahead of this, from the southwest, and that is going to bring in possibly, take this with a grain of salt, a few showers. And that's not going to break a drought. That is not anything that you should be getting excited about. As you can tell, it isn't a big system at all. It might bring some snow showers to New England by the time it gets there towards the Thursday time frame. But after that moves through, we're going to dry out once again. But I want you to notice your eyes. Take your eyes towards the northeast, around, let's say, north of Maine, where you see that low pressure. It says 988 millibars in red, and you see the blue line. That is, when you see the blue line, that means that the pressures are beginning to lower, and you're beginning to see possibly a bigger, sometimes you can be in the red lines and be under high pressure like we were this morning and still have cold conditions. But when you see these blue lines starting to push down into your region, you know that you should start to expect some cooler temperatures, because that's low pressure that is moving into the region. That is a trough that is digging down into the United States. Now, we have high pressure, pretty strong high pressure off to our north and west around Iowa and Minnesota. That is going to move southeastward. But as we move in towards this weekend, the GFS model thinks that we're just going to really stay cold here. I don't know if we're going to be as cold as the GFS model is predicting. I think we'll be a few degrees warmer than what this is predicting, but it is showing that we will be seeing possibly our first freeze of the year on Sunday morning. It's showing 25 degrees in Bowling Green. I think it's going a little bit too cold, so I don't agree with the model on this part or this aspect of it. But I do agree that we will cool down. We will see cooler temperatures as we move into this upcoming weekend. That's good for hunters. I'm excited about it because that is opening weekend, and for many people in Kentucky, opening weekend, November 12th and 13th, is a huge deal. So this is going to be something we're going to have to monitor. It is showing snow showers for eastern Kentucky. That is for mainly the mountains. I wouldn't expect any snow showers in our region. That's pretty far-fetching it, considering that it is still the beginning of November. Let's not get too excited about this. Let's just take the idea from it that it is showing cooler temperatures. GFS is trying to keep us in the 40s all day on Saturday. Like I said, great if that were to happen, but I don't think it is going to. I think we'll stay in the lower 50s, maybe middle 50s, but I don't, or maybe not. I say lower 50s. I'm going to say really middle to upper 50s for Saturday and Sunday as well. And then morning lows in the possibly, I'm going right now with upper 30s, low 40s, but I'm going at that with a conservative approach. I don't want to put too many dramatic numbers in there like 33, 34, 35, and then have to rise those temperatures as we get closer to this upcoming weekend. I'm going to ramp up and not down. A good friend of mine, Bo Dodson, I encourage all of you to follow him. He's a meteorologist for Southern Illinois and Western Kentucky, and that is a famous saying of his, is ramp up, not down. As you get closer to the event, ramp up with your snow totals, ramp up with your temperatures, or ramp up with those colder temperatures, but do not go at it with a bad approach and then end up having to adjust your forecast dramatically. Go at it with a conservative approach, a safe approach, and if you have to, lower the temperatures a little bit. But do not just put dramatic numbers up there that we're not going to see at this time of the year, obviously, at least with the pattern that we're in. Going past this upcoming weekend, we begin to see that low move towards that low pressure that was bringing those snow showers towards the northeast and eastern Midwest, the Appalachian Mountains. The GFS wants to bring it up back towards the Nova Scotia area. That's too far away to say if it's going to do that or not. And then if that were to happen, though, it would bring snow back around the backside of it towards Maine, and it would become a pretty decent snowstorm for them. But like I said, that's if that were to happen. Now, we start to notice that we see this has been consistent on the models, is that as we move into November 15th, this is on a Tuesday, we begin to see a very weak system moving into our region, but behind it has much colder temperatures. You don't have to have a lot of precipitation with a cold front in order to bring really cold temperatures behind it. But this has been consistent on the GFS, and it continues to show cold temperatures as we move into the middle of November and towards the end of November as well. This is going out to the 19th. You can tell those blue lines that I mentioned in the beginning of this video are still staying in our area. It's trying to show sleet showers, rain showers for our region around the 19th of November. Probably not going to happen. It's showing a possible nor'easter also during that time frame, as you can tell, off towards New England with some snow on that system. But you get the idea. The idea is that it's been consistent on showing colder temperatures, but don't take the specifics such as snow showers around this area on this date. Take the general idea that we're going to be seeing colder temperatures as we push into the middle to end of November. This was predicted. I've been predicting for a while now that we would see a flip sometime in November. I wasn't going to give the exact middle, beginning, end of November because I wasn't for sure, because the models ever since September kept showing in the long range cold, and it never ever happened. So I didn't want to say middle November flip possible. I wanted to say sometime in November because I was confident about saying that more than I was saying middle of November, because the chances of that happening were just as slim as they were back in September when the models were saying the same thing, cold around the middle of October. So cold weather looks to persist as we get into the middle to end of November. OrganicForecasting.com, I found this off of Michael Wilhite, who is a Southern Indiana weather forecaster, and he is very good at what he does. But I saw one of his videos where he posted this link, and I got it, and it looks very interesting. There is a thing called the Bering Sea Roll, which is a sea just east of Japan. Between there and Alaska is called the Bering Sea. Now, they say that whatever's happening there can happen in the United States around 6 to 10 days later. Now, this is what is happening as of yesterday, November the 4th, in the Bering Sea. Now, you see the United States in the dark bolded outline, but then you also see this, and you're like, oh, well, that doesn't look right. You can see the Aleutian Islands right there, and then you can see the east coast of Japan and Asia right there. So that tells us that if there is I love this graphic because it overlaps the United States with Japan. So whatever's happening, completely ignore the United States right now and just look at East Japan and the Aleutian Islands. You see these very purple colors. That means that there was a trough in that area yesterday. Probably still is. I haven't looked. But as of yesterday, it was showing this. Now, you put that over the United States, very cold temperatures are a possibility. And if you were to apply that, also the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 24th, and 26th of November. This is 6 to 10 days out from yesterday, showing zonal flow for the 20th of November. The GFS disagrees with that. They think it's going to be colder than normal then, but zonal flow for that time frame would mean very mild temperatures, which is what we've had very lately because of that zonal flow. 21st of November, we start to see a trough northwest flow, and then we just kind of get crazy around the 22nd. But you see low pressure starting to take place, so that means possibly a storm system. The 24th of November, a ridge is possible, but trough incoming, and then by the 26th, around Thanksgiving, we're beginning to see, or rather, 24th is on Thanksgiving, and the 26th would be a trough digging in. Now, that is just one thing. That's the Bering Sea Roll, and that's what it shows, but it isn't in full support with the GFS model, but the GFS changes its ideas 4 times a day, and so we can't have much confidence in it either, but you get the idea is that this is showing several cold snaps incoming. This is showing several cold snaps incoming, and other models do as well. So as we look at your app, what your app would show on your phone, this is next weekend. 65 degrees on Friday, 40 degrees in the morning, 61 degrees on Saturday, 40 degrees in the morning. I expect this to continue to trend lower as do the models. All right, tune back this evening for the winter weather forecast. This has been your weekly weather briefing.